Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Orchard Management Part 3. In this session, we are going to study about the planting distance. Okay, so we are going to study the topic that we are going to study about in this session is planting distance and high density planting system. Okay, so that is also called as HDP, high density planting system. So we are going to study about advantage of high density planting system and also the characteristic of high density planting system in this particular session. So let us start this session. The minimum vertical distance between any two trees or plant is referred to as the planting distance. So we maintain the distance between the plants, right? Plants or trees. So the minimum vertical distance that we are maintaining in the tree planting, that is for the fruit cropping, so that depends upon so many factors. It depends upon many factors. The principle in deciding the planting distance are the following. So let us study about what are the principle that decide the planting distance, right? So that are trees when fully grown, the fringes of the tree should touch each other, but the branches should not interlock. So we must check whether the branches are getting interlocked or not. So this is very, very important. So we are planting trees like this. Actually, we plant a small plant, but when they grow up, so they become tree like this, right? So sometimes they are having some branches in this way. So the branches, this fringes means a part of the canopy that may touch each other, but it should not be like this, that their branches are growing in this way. Okay, so we must check whether the branches should not getting interlocked. The tree's root will spread over a much larger area than the top, and there should be proper room for the roots to feed without competition. At the ground level also, the roots should not be grow like such a way that they are getting intermingled with each other, or they are getting interlocked at the below the layer of the soil, right? So the trees of root will spread much larger area, as we know that the roots of the trees are present below the soil, so they spread much larger area than top, and there should be proper room for the roots to feed without competition. So there must be proper spacing. There must be proper spacing between the two trees. Factors which decide the planting distance are the following. Kind of fruit trees. Which kind of fruit tree we are planting? So mangoes are planted at a distance of 10 meter by 10 meter. Guavas at the distance of 5 meter by 5 meter, while papayas are planted at the distance of 2 meter by 2 meter. Why we are doing this? Because we are keeping much distance for the in case of mango tree. Okay, guava is around 5 meter, and the least we can keep in the papaya case. So we are keeping this because the canopy of the mangoes are quite large. Okay, and their fringes means a part of the canopy fringes that goes all the way, and they get intermingled or interlocked with the neighboring trees. So we must maintain this distance, that is 10 meter by 10 meter. The guava tree should maintain the distance of 5 meter by 5 meter, whereas the papaya, they can be planted at the distance of 2 meter by 2 meter, because they are not giving so many branches, right? They grow like this, and their canopy is there like this, and papaya fruits are like this. Okay, so another tree that can be grow at the distance of 2 meter from this. like this. So this is the thing that we should maintain the distance, and this distance depend upon the kind of fruit trees. Rainfall. Another factor is the rainfall. Wider spacing should be given in low rainfall areas than the high rainfall areas for a kind of tree. So wider spacing should be given to the low rainfall areas while comparing with the high rainfall area. Soil type and soil fertility. Another factor that decide the distance between the fruit tree, that is soil type and soil fertility. In heavy soil, less spacing should be given because the top and root growth are limited. Okay, so in the case of heavy soil, the root growth as well as the top, that is the canopy of the tree, that is limited. So we can keep a small distance or less distance between the tree. Root stock. Next factor is the root stock. Trees of the same variety grafted on the different rootstock will grow to different sizes and as such require different planting distance. Example in the case of apple, right? So the rootstock trees of the same variety, when they are grafted on the different rootstock, they will grow in different size because they are now grafted to the different rootstock. The root of the plant is different, but the graft that you have taken from this same tree, you will see that they are giving a different size. They are having a different type of growth, right? So they will grow to the different size and such require a different planting distance. For example, in the case of apple. Pruning and training. This is very, very important. Trees trained on the head system require closer spacing than the other type of training system. Okay, so the trees are trained on the head system. Head means canopy. They require closer spacing than the other type of training system. Irrigation system, another factor. In general, if the spacing is too wide, it is obvious that the yield per unit area would be greatly reduced. Only in very exceptional cases would this be justifiable. So ordinary, it is more profitable to plant the trees closer together and supply the need water and food material. So all the nutrients that are available in the soil, that will be properly available to the plant, and the water that you have irrigated to the fruit crop, that will also be available. Okay, and there will be no loss of water. Suppose the tree is here, ideally it should be planted at a distance of 5 meters. This is the 5 meter, but you are keeping it a distance of 10 meter. 10 meter. So there is a wastage of this you can say a land, and there is also the wastage of the soil nutrients when you irrigate this. So this irrigation means the water which is present here, that will be loss. That will be a loss. So to avoid that, the proper placing of the tree or the spacing of the tree is very, very important. So we have discussed some of the factors that decide at which distance we must plant the fruit crop. If the trees are too close together, the tree grow tall, rendering the pruning, and spraying and harvesting will be difficult. So the pruning is done when you cut the branches of the tree. So if they are growing close together, very close together, so they will compete for the sunlight. So they will grow very tall instead of growing too sideways, right? So they are rendering the pruning. In that case, spraying and harvesting, it will be difficult if the spacing of the trees are less. Okay, if the trees are growing close together, in that case, if we are spraying some pesticides or any insecticide, then it will be difficult to do. Harvesting will also be difficult. There is a root competition and inadequate nutrition, and the trees as such give less yield and produce smaller fruits to poor color. So there will be competition for the roots, as we have already discussed that at below the soil the roots are growing, we all know. But if the roots of the two trees are getting interlocked in this way, they will compete for the soil nutrient that is available in the soil. Okay, so there should not be any like competition of competition for the nutrients by the roots that are present below the surface of the soil, right? So there is a root competition and inadequate nutrition, and the trees give less yield in that case and produce smaller fruits of poor color. The fruits will be smaller, the color of the fruit will be poor, right? Not good. And in that case, the commercial value of that type of fruit will be very less. Cultivation also becomes difficult in the closely planted orchard. So cultivation is also difficult when you plant the trees very close together. So the spacing, that is the planting distance, that is why we are having a topic that is called as planting distance. To maintain this planting distance is very, very important, right? So adequate amount of growing space should be given to the plant. It should not be very close or it should not be very far away. Means the spacing should not be it should be in a proper condition that all the nutrients or all the available sunlight, water, they get in a proper way. We must keep this in mind. So that is why the planting distance is discussed here. So one must follow this planting distance if they are going for the orchard management, if they are planting the fruit crop. Close planting result in the greater yield per unit area in the early life of the tree, but less in more important later years. Early, if you are planting the trees very close together, so earlier they will give you a good yield. But when the plant become older, right, later the yield will be less. So the close planting is therefore a false economy. It is not a good idea. It is not, you can say, recommended for the orchard management, right? That is why planting distance is very, very important topic. The total number of trees per hectare for the various important horticulture crops under square, hexagonal and triangular system of planting are given below. So we are having different, this we have already discussed, different pattern of cropping, that is the square, rectangle, triangular, hexagonal, right? So we have discussed this. It may be seen that the hexagonal accommodate 15% more number of plants, while triangular system accommodate 11% lesser number of plants. So planting pattern is very, very important. What type? So in the hexagonal we have discussed like this. We are having trees at every corner of the hexagon and also in the center. Okay, so here will be a tree, this here will be a tree, here will be a tree. In this way we can plant tree. Okay, so this is 15% more number of plants is accommodated. So well utilization of the land if we are opting this pattern. But this is quite a difficult task to manage hexagonal pattern of planting. But it is economically, if we are seeing that this is the best way to utilize the land and we will have a great yield even. But the triangular system that accommodate 11% lesser number of plant, because there is a lot of wastage and it is very difficult to manage the triangular system or the triangular pattern of planting. The calculation of the number of trees per hectare when planted under the square or the rectangular system is very easy, and it is obtained by dividing the total area by the area occupied by each tree. That is A into A in square system or L into B in the rectangular system. So this is the area that is required by the square system, and this is L into B that is required by the rectangular system. Okay, so the calculation of the number of trees per hectare when planted under the square and rectangular can be taken out. We can take out how many number of trees if we are having a piece of land and we know the area of this piece of land. So we can take out how many number of trees we can plant in, whether we are following the square pattern, whether we are following the rectangular pattern. Okay, so this is the case. The theoretical and the actual number of possible trees which can be planted in an orchard depends upon the shape of the field. What is the shape of the field? It is very, very important. So according to that, we are opting for the planting pattern. Right? So in practice, in large field, the percentage difference between the theoretical number and the actual number will be less. Right? So in practice, the large field, if you are following for the large field, then there will be actual and possible that will be exactly same, or it will be very less difference. Planting of fruit trees. Now, higher density planting system. So we want to have a higher density planting system. So let us discuss what is this. Planting of fruit trees rather at a closer spacing than the recommended one, using the certain special techniques with the sole objective of obtaining maximum productivity per unit area without sacrificing the quality, is often referred to as high density planting. So we are planting tree in a closer spacing, means we are leaving a small gap between the trees, and then also we are having the maximum productivity. Our productivity is not getting down, and we are going for the closer spacing, means we are keeping very less distance in between the trees. Right? So this particular system is called as high density planting or HDP. Okay. So this technique was first established in apple in Europe during the 60s, and now majority of the apple orchard in Europe, America, Australia and New Zealand are grown under this system. So the first time this technique was established for the apple fruit crop, right? And in later during the 60s, it has been adapted in Europe, America, Australia and also in the New Zealand. So what is this? In this system, 4 planting densities are recognized for the apple. That is low HDP. That is less than 250 trees per hectare. We are planting 50 tree in 1 hectare. That is given a heading low HDP. Moderate HDP, 250 to 500 tree per hectare. This is moderate HDP. High HDP, 500 to 1250 trees are planting per hectare, then it is called as high HDP. And ultra high HDP, that is more than 1250 trees per hectare are planted. So this is the different planting system that was adapted for the apple, for the case of apple. So recently, super high density planting system has also been established in apple orchard with a plant population 20,000 trees per hectare. So in this case, you can imagine The trees are very close together. So in some orchard, still closer planting of the apple trees is followed, say 70,000 trees per hectare, which is often referred to as meadow orchard. It is actually, they are so close that if you see from the above, it will look like a meadow. So that is got name meadow orchard. So it started from 200, 250 to 200, and it reaches to the 70,000 trees per hectare, right? So this is we can have the in HDP. Now, what are the advantages of HDP? So early cropping and higher yield for a long time. So this pattern is gives you, or this management can give you a higher yield for the long time, and the average yield in apple is about 5 ton per hectare under the normal system of planting, and it is about 140 ton per hectare under the HDP. So now you can see this. What is the difference? This is the normal pattern of growing tree, means having a lot of distance in between the tree, and this in case of HDP system, that is 140 ton per hectare. So it can reduce the labor cost and improve the fruit quality. Now, what are the characteristics of HDP? The trees of HDP should have maximum number of fruiting branches and minimum number of structural branches. So this is very, very important. Fruiting branches means that should have flower, and after that flowering, they should have fruits in that. So that is why it is called as fruiting branches. But there are some branches which just bear the leaves. Okay, so minimum number of such branches should be there, and the maximum number of fruiting branches should be there in the case of HDP. This we must keep in mind. The trees are generally trained with the central leader surrounded by nearly horizontal fruiting branches. So the trees, there should be a trained, and there is a central leader surrounded by nearly the horizontal fruiting branches. So there must be a horizontal fruiting branches, and in the center there should be a leader that must have a good fruiting branches. These branches should be so arranged and pruned in such a way that each branches cast a minimum amount of shade on the other branches. So this is very, very important. There is a lot of effort on pruning. Pruning means cutting off those branches that can provide shade to the neighboring branches of other tree. Okay, so there must be, if the trees are growing very close like this, so sometime what happen like this. So this one is can pruned out so that sunlight can reach to this particular branch. So we can have pruning in such a way that each branch casts a minimum amount of shade on the other branches. The height should be 1.5 its diameter at the base. A key to successful HDP depends upon the control of tree size. So tree size is also very important factor. Okay, the successful HDP depends upon the control of the, so we can control the size of tree, and this can be achieved by use of size controlling rootstock. We can control the size of controlling the rootstock. In apple, dwarfing rootstock and the intermediate stock like MM106, MM109, MM111 are used to control the size of the plant. So in this case, in rootstock, dwarfing the rootstock can be used to control the height of the tree. In pears, quince A, Adam and quince C are commonly used as a dwarfing rootstock. So this is in the case of pear. Use of spur type scions in the temperate fruit crops like apple. The cultivars can be classified into spur type or non-spur type. So we are having scions. So we are having like this scions. We can take out these scions from the branches. So the use of spur type scions in the temperate fruit crops like apple, the cultivars can be classified into spur type or non-spur type. If they are having the spur, then they are classified as spur type, and if they are not having spur, then they are called as non-spur type. The spur types which have restricted annual growth are alone suitable for HDP. So the spur type, they are having restricted annual growth, less growth. So they are good for HDP. Training and pruning methods to induce dwarfness under the Indian condition. Apple tree trained under the spindle brush, dwarf pyramid, cordon system are found to contain the growth of the tree appreciably for the HDP system. So for training and pruning is done to induce the dwarfness in the plant in the Indian conditions. So the apple tree are trained under the spindle brush, dwarf pyramid and the cordon system that are found to contain the growth of the tree appreciably, that is matching to the HDP system. Mechanical device and the use of chemicals are there to control the size. Growth regulators such as deminozide, ethefon, chlormacot and peclobutrazole are extensively used to reduce the shoot growth by 30 to 0%. So we can reduce the shoot growth, and for this we can have a mechanical device as well as some chemicals in the form of growth regulators. So those can be used, for example, deminozide, ethefon, chlormacot and the peclobutrazole are available, so that can extensively reduce the shoot growth by 30 to 0%. This result in increased flowering in the subsequent years and may be useful for encouraging earlier commercial fruit production in strongly vegetative fruiting young trees. So this method, like mechanical training and also the use of the chemical, that can increase the flowering in the subsequent years and may be useful for encouraging the earlier commercial fruit production. Beside chemical manipulation, so this is actually a manipulation. So if we are using some plant regulators, chemical based plant regulators, then it is called as chemical manipulation. So beside chemical manipulation and mechanical devices employing the use of spreaders and tying down the branches to make them grow from near horizontal to an angle of 45 degrees from the main stem are also some of the standard practice to control tree size. So in the mechanical device, what we can do with the help of wire, we can tie the branches and keep at an angle of 45 for some days, so that the branches that can grow in that way, okay, they are maintained at this angle and they are near the horizontal. They should not grow upward, right? So in this way we are keeping that they are not getting shade, provide shade to the nearest branches of the other tree or their own tree. So all these things that can be done in the mechanical device. Planting system for the HDP. So the success of HDP depends upon the right choice of planting system. Generally, rectangular planting with single, double and 3-row plantings are followed. So this is one of the planting system that was successfully adapted for the HDP, right? So in single row planting, The distance within the row is close, whereas the distance between the row is wide, that is 4 into 2 meter in the case of rectangular planting. And this is for the single row planting. So in single row planting, the distance within the row is close, very close, whereas the distance between the row is wide, 4 into 2 meter. Double row planting, a wider spacing is given after every 2 rows, that is 4 plus 2 into 2 meter, whereas 3 row, the planting, a wider spacing is given after every 3 rows, that is 4 plus 2 into 2 into 2. So this is 2 into 2 into 2 is the area, and this 4 is the distance between the 2 row or the third row. In meadow orchard system, we have already discussed what is the meadow orchard system. That is, the planting is done very close, very close. A bed of 10 to 15 rows is closely planted, say 30 into 45 centimeter, and separated by alley. Alley means intercropping, or the distance between the crop, that is 2.5 meter widths between the beds. This system is also called bed system. Very, very important, bed system. In the examination, it can be asked bed system, that is also known as meadow orchard system. Planting season. The season of planting varies with the different fruits and the local condition, right? So season, for the every type of fruit we are having the different season, and according to the season we opt for our fruit crop, right? So season of planting varies with the different fruits and the local condition also. So there are 2 seasons of planting vogue in India: monsoon, that is June to August, and spring, that is February to March. So these are the planting season for our orchard, for our fruit crop. One is monsoon, that is great available of water. So the plants that require a good amount of water, we can go for this, that is in the month of June and August. And the spring season is also, we can plant some of the orchard crops, that is February to March. Monsoon season is considered to be the best for the planting evergreen fruits like citrus, mango, sapota, and guava. So for the monsoon, we are having such option that we can go for the orchard cropping, that is citrus, mango, sapota, and guava. And if the trees are planted early in the rainy season, they soon establish themselves and grow vigorously, because just after this summer season we are having a good amount of rain, and that enhances the growth of the plant. Deciduous trees may be planted during the dormant period without shock. So the care should be taken that planting is done before the growth start. Otherwise, trees suffer severely and will be in the poor condition to withstand the next hot weather. So deciduous, this plant should be taken care when we are planting for this deciduous trees. Okay. After locating the positions of the orchard tree, it is important that the trees are planted exactly where the stakes stood, right? So whatever the pattern we are following, whether we are following the square, rectangle, or the hexagonal, right? So if we are following a pattern, it means that we must plant the tree in that fashion only. It can be easily done with the help of planting board. So we are having some planting board, so we can go for that. The planting board is usually 15 meter long, 10 centimeter wide, and 2.5 centimeter thick, with a central notch and one hole on either end. The central notch and the 2 holes, one on the either end, are in the straight line. So there is no, if you follow this way, that there is a hole at the end. So, and these holes are in the straight line. So it is very, if you plant your tree like fruit crop like this, so they are in a very distance is maintained, that is stiff, and They are in a very straight line. So we must follow this planting board for planting trees. The planting board is placed in such a way that the stake tree marker fits into the central notch and the two small stakes are inserted, one on each hole. So we can have some stakes, we can mark that on the ground and we can remove the planting board and plant the fruit crop immediately. The planting board along with the tree marker is then lifted straight up without disturbing the end stakes. A pit of about 1 meter cube or the desired dimension at the position of the tree marker is then dug for planting the tree. The pits are allowed to wither for a few weeks before the planting in some case. The pits are then filled with the topsoil already mixed with the red earth and well-rotten farmyard manure. So this must contain a farmyard manure that is very, very important and is having a good water holding capacity. It is having the nutrients. We must also mix some topsoil, because all the nutrients that are available in the soil is present in the top layer of the soil. So if it is present very close to the proximity of the growing roots, then the available nutrients in the soil will be there to absorb by the roots. Irrigation is then applied to enable the contents of the pits to settle down properly. In the event of a depression take place as a result of irrigation, more soil should be added to the pits to fill them to the level of the land. Planting method. The pits are then ready for planting. So whatever the pits we have dug out there, so we have mixed the topsoil, we have mixed the manure, farmyard manure. Okay, so now the pits are ready for planting. The tree should be planted approximately where the original pegs were placed with the help of a stack, with the help of planting board. Right, so we have a marked place, we have kept some topsoil, we have mixed it with the manure. Now the tree should be planted approximately where the original pegs were placed. This is achieved by replacing the planting board in position with the help of guide pegs, and stem of the tree is brought to the central notch with the help of hand hoe. One of the most transplanting, now we are transplanting the plant. One of the most common mistake is that of the planting the tree is too deep. We must not plant this fruit crop very deep. The plant should be sent in such a way that the bud onion remains slightly above the ground level. So now you can imagine that if we are planting a bud onion, so if this is, some part should be above the ground. The tree in the field should be planted as deep as they stood in the nursery. The trees are irrigated soon after planting. As they have been planted, we must irrigate with some amount of water. So this consolidates the soil and helps the roots to establish contact with it and secure a supply of water quickly. So it can consolidate the soil, means the soil which is available to that, it get intact with it with the help of roots. Okay, and whatever the supply of water is there, they can quickly take. And small basin may be made around the tree for this purpose. So if we are planting, suppose we have planted a small plant here and we have just planted this small plant, so we must have some depressions here and fill it with the water so that water can reach out later also to this root. Planting, if taken up during the rains, this basin should be demolished within a day or two so that water will not collect around the tree. So, but if it is a rainy season, then this you can say basin can be demolished so that all the water that should not be get collected over there and it can damage the tree. So this is more dangerous on heavy than light soil. Spring wind causes damage to the growing plants by giving a constant shaking. To prevent this, plant should be stacked when planted. So stacking is also there to cut off the spring winds. Some young plants are subject to considerable injury from the sunburn, particularly if they have been trained to single stem with no branches for 45 centimeter or more than the ground. So we must protect these young plants with the sunburn also. Such trunk can be protected by wrapping them with the paper or with the material, or by painting them with the whitewash. The latter is probably best, and the most material wrapped around the trunk would be subjected to termite attack. So this is all about this session. We will have one more session to complete the orchard management. Till then, thank you very much.